In this video, we're going to look at class-based object-oriented programming for CustomTkinter. Hey guys, John Elder here from Tkinter.com, and in this video, we're going to look at class-based object-oriented programming. And this is a question I get asked every single day. How do you use CustomTkinter with class-based object-oriented programming? If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I always use functional programming. I never do classes because they're usually overkill. You usually just don't need to create a whole class-based system for a simple app, right? But there are definitely circumstances in Tkinter where your app can become so complicated and so large, it kind of makes sense to break it into class-based object-oriented programming. Do away with functional programming and switch straight to classes. So in this video, we're going to look at how to do that with CustomTkinter, how to use object-oriented programming with CustomTkinter, and it should be a lot of fun. So let's head over to our code. I'm using the Sublime Text Editor and the Get Bash terminal as always. And as always, you can find a link to the code in the pinned comment section below, as well as a link to the playlist with all the other videos in this CustomTkinter series. So check that out if you haven't so far. So I've got a file, I'm calling it ctk_object-oriented.py, and it's our basic CustomTkinter starter code that we always use. But before we get started, be sure to grab your totally free PDF copy of my Tkinter Widget Quick Reference Guidebook. This thing is awesome, over 150 pages with all the Tkinter widget attributes. Grab your free copy today. Just head over to tkinter.com/widget-book, enter your email address, and I'll send that right out to you. And while you're there, think about membership in tkinter.com. You get all my Tkinter courses, all my future courses for one low price. Use coupon code YouTube to get 30% off membership if you're interested. So let's come down here and very quickly build out just a basic app with functional programming, and then we'll convert it into a class-based program. Now, I'm not going to spend more than a minute or so on this, so let's just create a very quick text box. So let's go my_text, and that's going to be a CustomTkinter.ctk text box. And we want to put it in root. We want the width to be 600 and the height to be 300. And then let's my_text.pack this guy. Let's give this a pad Y of like 20, push down screen a little bit. And then we also want a button. So let's go my_button. And this is going to be a CustomTkinter.ctk button. We want to put it in root. We want the text to say clear box. And let's give this a command of clear, just to clear that screen. So then let's go my_button.pack. And let's give this a pad Y also of 20, push down the screen a little bit. Now we also need a very quick function here for our clear stuff. So here we just want to clear the text box. So let's go my_text.delete. And we want to delete everything in the box from the position of 0.0 all the way to the end. And that should do the trick. So let's head over to our terminal in my ctkinter.com directory and let's run Python ctk_object-oriented.py. And when we do, we get this very simple app. We can type stuff. When we click this, boom, whatever we typed disappeared. So just a very basic app, but it's got a couple of widgets and the basic, functionality of having an app with a title bar and an icon and all that stuff. So most of the things you're going to have in any app you want to create. So now let's convert all of this to class-based programming. So how do we do that? Well, this stuff is going to stay out of the class. This is just, telling us the appearance mode and the color theme. We want the dark mode and the dark blue color theme. Everything else we're going to push into a class that we're going to create. So let's just come up here and build this class. So to do that, we call class, and then we name this thing. And I'm just going to call it app. That's kind of common. Now we're going to pass in, we're going to inherit CustomTkinter.ctk. Now you'll notice this CustomTkinter.ctk is sort of how we call all of our widgets. Usually we call CustomTkinter.ctk and then the widget name, CTK button, CTK text box, CTK entry box, anything like that, right? So we're inheriting all of that into our class. And also we've imported CustomTkinter up here. So just sort of keep that in mind as well. So here, like with any class-based programming, you almost always start out by defining an init function. So it's __init__, and then we want to pass in self. I should say, if you're not familiar with object-oriented programming, you may be wondering what all of this stuff is. I'm not going to explain object-oriented programming. I'm going to assume you already know at least a little bit about it. So you understand what an init function is, and things like that. Passing self, you understand that. If you don't understand any of this stuff, well, then you don't care about this anyway. But if you're interested in learning, go back and learn object-oriented Python first, then come back and watch this video. So, okay, we do our initialization function, and then we also call super. This is super normal with most object-oriented programming. So we're calling super.__init__. Now, this does not inherit anything, so we leave that blank. And then that's pretty much it. So Now we just come down here and convert all of this code to class-based code, and it's going to be inside of, for the most part, this init function. So right off the bat, we're getting rid of almost always root because we no longer have a root app. Now we're just calling this app class, right? So the app class, when it wants to reference itself, it's not called root, it's called self, right? So right away, we can get rid of this. We don't even need this. And then all of these things, in fact, let me just sort of tab all of these in. So here, root.title becomes self.title, right? Root.iconBitmap becomes self.iconBitmap. Root.geometry becomes self.geometry, right? Everything else stays the same here. Now we'll leave this for just a minute, but how do we then convert these widgets into object-oriented code? Well, this is going to be our text box. Let me just comment. And here, instead of my_text, it's going to be self.my_text. And then we don't want to put it in root. We want to put it in self. Everything else stays the same. Same thing here. We call self.mytext.pack. If you're using the grid system, same thing. You would just, instead of pack, you would use grid, but we are using pack. Same thing here with our button. So self.myButton and self.myButton. And again, inside of here, we're calling self, not root. Now, this button calls this command, right? Now, this is no longer the clear command because this function is going to be inside of this class. So again, we're calling self.clear, right? Everything is self. So there we go. Now with functional programming, this function needs to be above our button because it has to be defined before the button runs. Otherwise, the button won't know what the class is or what the function is, right? Not so now. We can take this out and we can put this anywhere. We can put it at the top, or we could put it down below. It really doesn't matter. The only real difference here is all of these things are always going to inherit self. So here we've got our button. It's calling self.clear. Here is that clear function. Now notice I've got these things lined up. This does not line up with all of those things. So we need to tab it back out. No, actually, this is wrong. So here is our initialization function. All of these things need to be inside the initialization function. So that was right there, but all of this stuff needs to go over. So I'll just tab it over one. And you'll notice these are tabs. I could go boom 1, boom 2. I'm hitting the arrow button once and twice. These are not spaces, these are tabs. I use the tab key to tab these over. Python is tab specific, right? So you have to tab these things. And like I said, all of the widgets and things that you're defining are going to be in your initialization function. And if we think about it, that makes sense, right? Whenever the app gets initialized, that's when you want to create those functions and put them on the screen anytime the app starts, right? Not so with this, right? This only gets called when the button gets clicked. It doesn't run just when the app starts, right? So it makes sense that this is outside of this function, but it's still inside of our app class, right? So there we go. Now down here, we need to make a little bit of a change to our main loop. First, we need to define our app. So let's call app equals app. Now this is uppercase app with parentheses because that's what we call our class, right? So whatever you call your class, you know, if we called this Bob, which we could, no big deal, then this would be Bob, right? And then our app would be Bob. But I'm going to change this back to app because I'm not crazy. Bob's nice and all, but you know. And then here, this is not going to be a root.mainloop. It's going to be app.mainloop. So we've defined our app here, and now we're saying, hey, create a main loop for that app. And that's it. So let's create our app's main loop. Let's say define app and create our app's main loop. So, okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and save this now and head back over to our terminal and see if that works. See if I messed that up. So let's run Python ctk_object_oriented.py. When we do, we get this text box. There we go. We can type. We click this. Uh-oh, we got an error. What did we do wrong? My_text. Oops, there we go. Here, of course, as always, we need to go self.mytext. Missed that one. All right, so let's give this another try. That's a good way to reinforce this. Always, 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 you're going to be using self with object-oriented programming. CustomTkinter is no different. Everything is going to be self-dot. It's not ever going to be just the thing, right? So just keep that in mind. It's easy to forget when you're used to doing regular functional programming. So, okay, here we go. Type some stuff. Boom. This is class-based object-oriented programming. Woohoo. Clear the box. It works. And that's all there is to it. Now, which is better? Is this better than the way we did it the first time at the beginning of this video when we just used functional programming? I don't know. It's pretty much the same at this point, right? This is a little bit more code. Does it make it more easy to read? Does it make it more clean? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Just depends on how you look at it. Like I said, you're really only going to use this if your app is massive. For me, I like functional programming. It's quick, it's easy, it's not complicated. Anybody can look at the code and understand exactly what it is. Unless you understand what class-based programming is, this is confusing. You don't know what's all this self stuff. What is this thing? Why are we doing it like this? It's more things to learn. Now, it's not hard, but it's just more, right? So like I said, in some circumstances, class-based programming makes more sense. In others, it doesn't. It's really just up to you. One is not better than the other. People think class-based object-oriented programming is more professional or it's better in some way. It is not. It is simply just another tool in your toolbox. Sometimes it makes sense to use it. Sometimes it doesn't. And it really just depends on the app that you're making and nothing else. So that's how to turn a CustomTkinter app into an object-oriented class-based CustomTkinter app. Very cool, very fun. I know you guys have been asking me about this for many, many years. I finally got around to doing it. Like I said, I'm not a big class-based guy because I like quick and easy and, churn it out and get it done. And for me, that's functional programming. But like I said, there's certain circumstances where it makes sense to use this, and that's how you do it. So that's all for this video. If you liked it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. And be sure to grab your totally free PDF copy of my Tkinter Widget Quick Reference Guidebook. This thing is awesome, over 150 pages with all the Tkinter widget attributes. Grab your free copy today. Just head over to tkinter.com/widget-book, enter your email address, and I'll send that right out to you. And while you're there, think about membership in tkinter.com. You can get all my Tkinter courses, all my future courses for one low price. Use coupon code YouTube to get 30% off membership if you're interested. My name is John Elder from Tkinter.com, and I'll see you in the next video.